What is medical billing? So we're going to go into that and describe what a medical billing specialist does and what their primary responsibilities are. To give you an overview of the medical billing process, it's the process of getting the provider paid for their services. It's really what it boils down to. This includes payment from the insurance carrier and also payment from the patient for any uncovered charges during your deductible charges. A good specialist knows how to get the provider paid promptly for the services that they perform, and their duties cannot be easily automated. Much of their tasks involve interpreting physician notes and records, verifying correct patient information and insurance information, and making sure that the correct coding has been used. It's all about pulling this critical information together, making sure that it's accurate, and assembling it into one claim. And that's just getting the claim filed. It also has to go through the insurance payer adjudication process. So once the claim's processed to pay, you're applying all the payments. This has several other challenges that cannot be easily automated. A billing specialist frequently must interpret payer coding error messages and correct them, resubmit claims, and provide additional documentation to get the claim successfully paid. A medical billing specialist could also be referred to as an insurance billing specialist because so much of what they do is dealing with health insurance companies and payers, and interpreting and understanding how they operate. Health insurance can be very complex, and it can be very frustrating because there are always changes in codes and policies and guidelines, and not just from the insurance companies themselves, but also from government regulations and laws. In smaller physician offices, the billing specialist can handle a wide variety of tasks. Medical coding and medical billing are separate, but they are closely related. Both of these functions are critical to getting the provider paid. While the medical coder analyzes patient charges and assigns the appropriate alphanumeric codes, the standard diagnosis and treatment codes that are used throughout the industry, the coders and billers both access medical records for their work. The difference is the coder uses patient records to determine appropriate codes, whereas the biller uses the medical records primarily for payment of these services. I want to talk a little bit about the reality of billing and coding. Like I mentioned, the medical billing specialist in smaller practices may be kind of a jack of all trades. In an ideal world, once the coder has determined and assigned the appropriate codes, it's the medical biller's responsibility to make sure this information is correct and to prepare and submit a claim with this information. So when the claim has been successfully paid, the biller posts these payments, determines what amount the patient is responsible for, and reconciles the account. Now, for smaller practices, they can't justify having both a full-time coder and biller, so they typically have many of the same codes over and over again that the years. And it's important for the biller in these situations to have some knowledge of coding for the specialty. Periodically, you have to look up the diagnosis and treatment codes, the ICD and the CPT. Coders need to understand the modifiers and recognize when the codes are correct or incorrect. In the Billing Fundamentals course, we go into much more detail about what the billing specialist needs to know. This runs to coding situations where you have both a medical coder and a medical biller, which are typically for larger healthcare providers like multi-physician practices, clinics, hospitals, places that will see a lot of patients and have a centralized coding and billing department. So the typical tasks of a medical billing specialist, let's subtitle this Jack of all trades, because it encompasses a wide variety of tasks and responsibilities. The medical billing specialist starts out by creating and maintaining patient account ledgers in the practice management software. They determine the patient responsibility based on their particular health insurance plan. They may have to look up medical diagnosis and treatment codes, the ICD-10 and CPT codes. They enter the information from the patient registration forms and the super bills into the practice management software so a claim can be created. They need to understand managed care authorization and coverage limits and communicate with insurance payers occasionally to resolve claim problems. Continuing on, some other typical billing tasks are to transmit claims to a clearinghouse or insurance payer once the claim has been created, to send patient statements out, and occasionally answer questions about the patient bill. They run reports on the outstanding claims and patient accounts. These are called aging reports to coordinate delinquent patient accounts with a collection agency if you have situations where a patient account has been turned over to a collection agency. They also enter the insurance and patient payment information into the practice management software, the patient ledger in the practice region. Thank you for joining this introduction to medical billing. Remember, learning is a journey, and every term you learn is a step forward in your understanding of healthcare.